Welcome into another edition of Mavs Latest. I'm Josyah Howard, and before we get it started, please subscribe down below. Leave any comments you got for me down there as well. It's Mavs Latest every day with me, Josyah Howard, Dallas Mavericks all day long. But let's start here. According to an NBA executive that told DallasHoopsJournal.com that there would be three teams pursuing LeBron James next offseason, and it would be the Cleveland Cavaliers, his hometown team, the Golden State Warriors, his former rival, and the Dallas Mavericks. And he said, and this executive told DallasHoopsJournal.com that those are the teams that they are looking at. All three teams would have loved to trade for him this offseason, but he never requested a trade and he makes way too much money. Once he's on the open market, those teams will court him. I have no doubt in my mind. And this executive kind of mentioning a couple notes that I kept bringing up in terms of when the rumors for LeBron James came up, and I said it all along. A trade probably wasn't the ultimate way of getting LeBron James to the destination that is the Dallas Mavericks. That wasn't going to happen. It was always going to be next offseason when he's on the open market, if he's on the open market. But I believe he might test free agency this coming offseason next year, and that's when the Dallas Mavericks can move some things around and get a little bit more flexible, possibly reunite him with Anthony Davis. He's always wanted to play with Klay Thompson, but again, he might have to do with some of this cap flexibility as well. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, pieces like that. That's why he signed contracts like that as well. So, according to an executive speaking with the DallasHoopsJournal.com, yeah, it looks like they see the Dallas Mavericks as one of three teams that could possibly pursue LeBron James this offseason. But moving on to another one of note here, Bomani Jones on his show, The Right Time with Bomani Jones. He was bringing up the NBA GOAT debate and mentioned Kyrie Irving somehow. And he said, every time I hear somebody say that they think Kyrie Irving is the most skilled basketball player ever, I'm like, have you ever watched Michael Jordan play basketball? There's no other answer than Michael Jordan on that one, period. Now, I think when you get into the most skilled, you have to take every part of the offensive game into consideration. And I think when especially younger people don't bring up Michael Jordan's because you don't think of Michael Jordan as the one with the AI handles like Kyrie Irving. He doesn't have the high percentage 3-point jumper like a Kyrie Irving. So when when I think of most skilled, and I think when people think about the guys in the argument for most skilled, I don't think they bring up Jordan mostly because he doesn't hit that three ball. And he's obviously, if you don't think he's the GOAT, he's at least number two. If you say Jordan, cool. If you say LeBron, cool. I lean LeBron, but I just think it's so close to me. Um, and a lot of it, my biases, I saw LeBron play and I didn't see Michael Jordan play. I'm sorry. I'm 28 years old. I'm sorry I didn't see Michael Jordan play. But this is not a Jordan LeBron debate or whatever. Um, you know, in terms of most skilled, I wouldn't say Kyrie's the most skilled player ever. And I wouldn't even have Kyrie Irving over Michael Jordan as the most skilled player ever. But to just, go right ahead and just throw Michael Jordan as the number one most skilled player when he really just couldn't even really hit a three ball. And I think when you talk about most skilled player ever, you got to throw things like, the three ball in there. So yeah, I know he played in a time where the three ball wasn't that prominent, but it was there. And the year they moved it up, he shot well, and the year they moved it back, he didn't shoot quite as well. So it's not necessarily that it's all era. It's the fact that that was kind of one of the weaknesses in his game. So I couldn't really say who I think the most skilled quote unquote player is. I also think body type and archetype matters when it comes to most skilled players ever. So I think like a Kevin Durant, for example, is high up on that list because he's a 7 footer with point guard handle and can shoot from anywhere on the court. I think all that stuff matters. So to just say Michael Jordan is the most skilled player ever is I don't think is being fair to honestly the evolution of the basketball of an NBA basketball player, not just, a Kyrie Irving or just specific people, just the evolution of where basketball players have gone. I just think Bomani's being a little disingenuous in that, and it's just kind of easy to be like Michael Jordan, case closed. Michael Jordan, that's it, Michael Jordan. But when you're putting it in a vacuum of most skilled basketball players ever, you still got to be cognizant of, you know, his offensive package wasn't perfect. He developed that post game later on in his game. He never really developed a strong outside shooting game. He had a nice 18 to 20-foot jumper in the middle, that mid-range game, but, you know, he's not as good of a shooter as a lot of these quote unquote most skilled players ever. So, again, Kyrie Irving, I wouldn't say Kyrie Irving is a more skilled player than Michael Jordan in this just one argument that Babani's trying to make. But in the general scope of that argument of who's the most skilled player ever, I just don't think that there's no other answer other than Michael Jordan on that one period. I just think that's just the easy way out. I just think when people think Mike's the GOAT, it's just the easy way out of a conversation of there's no other answer than Michael Jordan. That's just the shit. That's just it. Case closed. Book it. That's it. That's not the Michael Jordan conversations I like to have. I like to at least, you got to be open to that. The fact that he's not just the case closed GOAT anymore. That's just not. It's just not the truth anymore. But this is a Mavs podcast, so let me move on from that. So yeah, Bomani Jones argues Kyrie Irving is not the most skilled player ever. But a little note came out from Tim McMahon. He says Luka is operating in a way in conjunction with the Lakers front office in ways that he's never done in Dallas, even though it was fully his intent to be in Dallas his entire career. I think the shock of the trade has kind of woken Luka up to the importance of business savvy in the NBA. Again, he had never been active in recruiting players like he was with DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart. He had never been as active. I think that is interesting to hear that he wasn't really an active recruiter in trying to make the Mavericks better, but the moment he got to the Lakers, that he kind of had an awakening and realized that that's an important factor in team building. And now, especially in the market he's in LA, it's kind of easy to convince somebody to come play for the Lakers and live in California. So at least he gets it now. As a Mavericks fan, it kind of sucks that he couldn't really wake up in Dallas, and maybe that would have made them not want to trade him. But, I put more blame on them for just not riding out with him more than them just calling it a day and, him waking up when they traded him. So, again, interesting note that Luka was a big recruiter this offseason for the Lakers, and a behavior that was not seen in the past with him as a Dallas Maverick. But to wrap things up with a little Mavs chatter, Clutch Points brings up a point I brought up a little earlier on, but now that we have a little hindsight with the off season a little bit ahead of us here, or a little behind us here, I should say, um, they suggest, one move the Mavs should have made was consolidating the front court and adding a real perimeter creator. And I agree with that. D'Angelo Russell, Ryan Nemhard, and others, and Miles Kelly. Dante Exum, who they haven't even really officially gotten on the roster. These are temporary fixes. And with Kyrie gone, you want a temporary fix for this year. But you kind of want someone, and they could have possibly got someone with the value of some people in their front court. You could have gotten somebody that not only was short term this year a fit for the team, but they could have been a short term fit for the team in terms of the 1 to 3 year window. And, they signed D'Angelo Russell for 2 seasons, but I don't necessarily think that means he's on a 2 year window with the Mavericks. I like Ryan Nembhard, but he's young. He's a rookie. You can't necessarily rely on the growth of an undrafted rookie, no matter how much I like him. So, interesting point brought up by Clutch Points. I agree with the sentiment of it. I do think they should have consolidated that front court, added some value back in their perimeter, specifically a perimeter creator. And again, D'Angelo does do that, but it just seems like a lot of their moves in the offseason were quick fixes, and they could have done a little bit of a better job fixing that perimeter and consolidating the front court, like Clutch Sports or Clutch Points, excuse me, said. Um, so yeah, we're still on the lookout to see who will be traded or who will be moved in order to get Dante Exum into the roster. That is definitely the thing on my mind when it comes to the Mavericks heading in to the regular season. But this has been another Mavs Latest. I'm Josyah Howard. Again, please subscribe down below. Leave any comments you got for me down below. Like, rate, subscribe, and let's get it, y'all.